Hello, my friends, hello, and welcome once again to stately Von Manor, where I've got a tag for you today. I've got a tag to do today, and this is the eReader book tag. I was tagged by the creator of this tag, Micah Cummins. Micah Cummins, a fantastic BookTube channel. Micah Cummins is a rising star on BookTube. You should check out his channel. I'll link it down below. Scandalously, though, Micah Cummins likes to read on eReaders. I know, it's shocking. And he tagged me in this tag because, even more shocking than that, I like eReaders too. Yes, I read a lot of books on my little eReader. I know, it's a horrifying thing. So he came up with all of these questions about e-reading and my e-reading habits. So let's find out what these questions are. Okay, prompt number 1 is several questions in one. What was the first e-reader you ever owned? What was your reason for getting one? Were you a reluctant convert or an eager one? Okay, I was pretty eager to get my first e-reader because to me it sounded like some sort of fantastic Star Trek technology. Imagine having a device that you can carry around in your pocket. And this is before, I think this was before tablets. I think like the iPad hadn't even been invented when this came out, which was the second generation Kindle. It wasn't the weird first one. The first one was really strange. The second one was a vast improvement on the first one, had a lot more storage, and I don't have it anymore, but it looked like this. This is the I think this is a picture of the second generation e-reader from Kindle, the second generation Kindle. And I really liked it, and I read a lot of books on it. It was very clunky and lame if you compare it to what we have now. But at the time, and I don't even remember what year this came out, I thought it was really cool. I mean, just to be able to, it was a handy tool, basically, that I can carry around all of these books with me. I thought that was really cool, and I could just read them on this funky device anytime I wanted to. So I like the idea of e-readers. And I also liked that you can get, classic works of fiction really, really cheap. So yeah, this is the first one that I had. This one right there. So that was the first one. I got one just because I loved the idea. And was I a reluctant convert? Not at all. I was very eager to get this thing. And the e-ink screen fascinated me. When I first got it, it had a picture on there, and I tried to peel it off because I thought it was a sticker, and it wasn't. It was just the picture. It was a strange thing. I remember that. So I was pretty happy with it, read a bunch of books on it. Eventually, I replaced it in 2011 or 12. What e-reader do you use now? What e-readers do you own? So I still have the e-readers that I replaced that initial one with. I dug this out of a drawer the other day. This is the one, I think I got this to replace that original one either in 2011 or 2012. I don't know. But it's just this really simple, look, it has ads on it. It's this really simple one. It doesn't have a touch screen. It doesn't have a light. Oh, look, it's Dagon from H.P. Lovecraft. But it still works. I charged it up for a few hours. I found it in a drawer, charged it up for a few hours. Works fine. I don't think this thing can access the Kindle store anymore. I haven't tried, but I don't think it does. But you can download anything that you already own or bought from your more modern Kindle. So it'll still work for that. I like the button design on this is really nice, and I think it's stupid that they got rid of the buttons because these buttons, they're not intrusive. They're just tiny little buttons on the side, and you click them real easily so you don't have to touch the screen if you don't want to. And it's a nice little thing. I like, of course this thing needs a touch screen. It needs a light. you know, so it doesn't have those things. But, you know, and it doesn't look as good as the newer Kindles do as far as, you know, the text and everything. But still, I read a ton on this, and I replaced it years after I got it. And I replaced it with, well, I got two things. This is the Kindle Oasis, and this isn't the first Kindle Oasis. This is the second version of Kindle Oasis. Let me get a... Can you even see it, or is there light too bright? No, you can see that. So this is Varney the Vampire that's on here now, because I am currently reading Varney, and I do sometimes still use this device. And I got a really good... You know, Varney is available on Project Gutenberg, but it's not all of Varney. It's only some of Varney on Project Gutenberg. So I got a nice ebook of the whole of Varney the Vampire, the whole darn thing, and it was cheap, and it's really formatted nicely, and you can see it here on this Oasis. Now, I've heard that the battery life on the Oasis weakens over time, and that it's not all that great. The battery life on this is pretty good. I haven't had any problems with it. Again, I like the buttons. I think the buttons are cool, but you know, it's a pretty good device. I probably didn't really need to get a newer Kindle, but I did. I didn't get a newer Oasis though. This is the Paperwhite, which I've got, and this is the one I use most of the time. See if I can get this, wake this sucker up. Yeah, this is the one I use most of the time, which just has a simple touchscreen, but it's awesome. And yeah, the battery on this lasts forever. I mean, this thing is always ready to go. So this is the one I use most of the time. As far as Kindle devices go, I also have this little thing, but this is just a little tablet. This is the little Kindle Fire tablet, which I never use anymore because it's tiny. It's like, it's practically a phone, this little thing. It works, it's clunky, it's slow, but it works. I could potentially read a book on here, but why? You know, why would I? It's tiny. So I have this tiny one that I really don't use. And then I have this big tablet. This is the big Kindle that I could also read on if I wanted to. There's Micah now. Micah Cummins. But, you know, I don't. I usually read on one of the little Kindle devices. That was a long-winded answer. Let's see. Number 3. Do you read digitally on multiple devices or always on the same device? If you use multiple, how do you decide which one to use? I usually use one or two. I have this one, and I have the Oasis, which still works. And, you know, it's pretty much whatever closer in the house or whichever one I have with me. They both work really, really well. This is the one I usually carry around in my work bag, so this is the one I use the most. One of the reasons I use e-readers as much as I do, as opposed to physical books, is because they're really easy to carry, and I do a lot of reading outside the home while I'm out and about. So, yeah, this is very helpful for that. Okay, and how do you decide which one to use? Yeah, basically, whichever's around. Number 4, do you still read physical books? If so, how do you decide which format to read a certain book in? I do still read physical books, of course. I collect certain books, like my vintage science fiction. I love vintage science fiction, and very often, a lot of these older vintage science fiction books are not available as ebooks. Not always, but very often that's the case. This one you can. You can get Logan's Run as an ebook, I'm almost certain. But I have a ton of these, and I collect them. And very often, if I have one of these, I'm just going to read this, you know, because I already have it. And I'm not going to spend more money for an ebook copy if I already have a physical copy, usually. There are exceptions, but if it's just a paperback, these are easy to carry around. So I read tons of these. For the giant hardbacks, If I were just reading at home, if I were, retired like some of my fellow booktubers are and just like never left the house except to have fun once in a while and to drink and to, have dinner and buy books, that sounds like the perfect life. If I were one of those people, then yeah, I could sit around at home and read my book. But I'm out all the time. I'm working a lot. I'm out always. And so lugging around a big giant hardcover is difficult. A lot easier to carry around an e-reader. I guess that answered the question, sort of. Number 5, what is something you dislike about reading ebooks? Not much. Now, a lot of the problems with ebooks, it's not with the technology itself. The technology is great and could be better. And I think that's probably the problem I have with ebooks, is that publishers don't particularly care for ebooks or the ebook copies of their books, usually. So, there's so much potential with e-reading. You can make an annotated version of a book. Like, let's take Herodotus, for example. There you have a book where you need maps, right? And you need to look up words and places and everything like that. But there's not a really great annotated version of that book. And what you should have, and what you could have, is a book like that where if there's a place name, you can just tap on the place name and a map of that place will come up, or more than one map will come up. There should be ebooks like that, where maps, illustrations, charts, whatever you need, could pop up instantly. A lot better than it. You could do this a lot better than it's done. Very often, if you have a question about a word, that'll pop up from the dictionary. And if it's annotated well, then the annotations will pop up. But there's a lot more you can do with the e-reading technology that just isn't being done. It's not being utilized. So that's unfortunate. Also, because publishers don't care, e-copies of books tend to have a lot more typos and errors than the physical copies of the books. Physical copies nowadays have a lot more errors in them than they used to. I don't know. I don't know why that is, but it seems to be the case. But e-copies notoriously have a lot more errors and typos than traditionally a paper copy would. And that's all because there's no care, or not a lot of care, put into the ebook versions of these books. If there's anything I don't like, it's that more care should be put into these things, because it's great technology. Just reading a book on an e-reader is a good reading experience. It's a solid reading experience. So you should take care in the books themselves. Anyway, another long-winded answer. Would you ever ditch physical books completely and become a sole ebook reader? If yes, why? If no, why not? No. I would never ditch physical books completely. For me, this is a tool for reading books, right? It's a handy tool. It's a great way to read. But I don't think it'll ever entirely replace physical books, particularly physical books that I really like this one, or like this one, or any other little science fiction-y paperback that I love so much. I mean, it'll never replace physical books for me entirely. There are certain books that it can replace. I'm thinking of a lot of books that maybe I would only read once, or don't really feel like I need physical copies of them. Then ebook copies are great for that, particularly for a lot of classic literature where the ebook copies tend to be really, really inexpensive or free. I don't need like a ton of books that a ton of books that I don't really, really love when I can just read them anytime on an e-reader. So to a certain extent, yes, it will replace certain books, but it will never replace all books, all physical books. I will always have a lot of physical books lying around, I'm sure. Number 7, where do you get your ebooks? Kindle store, library loans, third-party websites. Mostly the Kindle store, because I use a Kindle, the Evil Empire, the Kindle. I use that usually. There's a lot of books on the Kindle store, but I don't always. There are other places you can get books, like you can get books from Project Gutenberg. Recently, Steve Donahue very kindly sent me a ton of ebooks. He just sent them to me, emailed them to me. I mean, and that's an amazing thing right there. Just the fact that he could do that. I got a huge book haul from Steve Donahue. All ebooks, all really great ebooks. And so, that's one way I got a ton of books. But usually it's the Kindle store. Usually. And number 7, tag some fellow booktubers. Who has not been tagged who would be interested in doing this tag? I don't know if another Bibliophile Reads has been tagged in this or not, but I know he really likes ebooks as well as he likes every kind of book format. Another Bibliophile Reads, a great channel that you should check out. So I'm going to tag another Bibliophile Reads. Who else might I tag that likes ebooks? That's a tough question because I don't know who really reads ebooks and who doesn't. Okay, I'm going to tag another Bibliophile Reads, but if anybody else watches this, loves ebooks, has a BookTube channel, and wants to do this tag, do it, because it's interesting. It's an interesting tag. Okay, that's all I have to say for today. I will catch you next time.
Hey Zorro. Hey Zorro, you know who likes reading ebooks? Gina Stanyer likes to read ebooks, I think. Gina Stanyer likes it. She likes reading ebooks, so let's tag Gina Stanyer as well. Okay, Zorro and I are tagging Gina Stanyer also. And Rhonda, what about the amazing David Wiley? Yeah, he's very exciting, the amazing David Wiley. I think we should tag the amazing David Wiley as well. Okay, Rhonda.